Where did we first meet?
Don't know. That's far too difficult. Probably in a pub, and that's why we can't remember it. We've got a story to share about you thinking I was dead. Do you remember that story?
Oh my God.
Stars, cars, guitars.
Hey, Paul Young, how are you, my old friend? It's been a while. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, it's
You
been a
look
while.
terribly good. That makeup really works for you. How's mine? Is my makeup smudged a bit?
Actually, yeah, I've got some smudge on. Just to get rid of it. I got very rosy cheeks, you see.
Yeah.
So like,
Have you had a cup of tea or anything?
I've had a tea so far and a coffee. I always have tea in the morning, and when it gets to midday, it's on to the coffee.
Okay, all right. I'm the other way around. But anyway, so I wanted to ask you about Bruce Springsteen, and the rumor came down the pike from Tony Hadley that you have been motorcycle riding with Bruce Springsteen. Is that correct?
I did, yeah. That was one of my most favourite surprise things that happened, you know. And it was when I was going to do an album in America. We were going to do it at Ocean Way Studios.
Yeah, I know that.
It was when I was with Stacey and one child. We had Levi.
Okay.
So it's fairly easy for me to relocate. She was young enough to just go to kindergarten school and stuff.
Yeah.
So the idea was I'd go out the year before and do some songwriting and come back the following year to record the stuff at Ocean Way. And so I went out there with my manager, Jed, who was looking after Alison Moy at the time, who was going to record with Jimmy Iovine, who's now a multi-million billionaire.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it works.
He's with Dr. Dre, isn't he? As if he wasn't doing well enough then. So we just arrived, and they said they've invited us around. Jimmy's invited us around his house. It would be a good way of keeping the jet lag off, you know. So we went round there, and Bruce was on the sofa.
Oh, nice.
Which was a surprise. I'd never met him before. It turned out that I was renting a place in Coldwater Canyon, and it wasn't that far from where he lived. And we got onto, I said, I keep a motorcycle out here with a friend of mine, you know, so then I just rent one car for the family, and I can go everywhere by Harley. And he said, I love bikes. He says, do you want to go for a ride? I went, yeah, great. And so went around his house. He showed me he's got about half a dozen lovely motorcycles, you know, as he would. And there's a desert. So we went right up into the California hills to the point where there was a, you could see where in the winter it's got a little skiing slope and stuff.
Yeah, Big Bear, is that it?
That's probably it. And then we went down the other side and into the valley. And
it was a proper ride then.
Oh, it's great, yeah. And I remember we managed to find a little trading post, you know, like a real old-fashioned trading post. And they had like a big steer skull, horns and everything, you know, that they're probably just found in the desert somewhere. And I bought the damn thing and strapped it to the back of my motorcycle. You could never get away with it. It could have been a nasty accident if I'd come off. but I managed to get it home in a big plastic bag. If they let me take it on the plane, I could not imagine that happening now.
No, not at all. It's a bit of a weapon, isn't it? You attack somebody.
Yeah, it's almost like a weapon, but also, you know, you're allowed one bag and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I got the usual bag, this dirty, great big thing with these horns sticking out. And it's up in my music room.
Brilliant. What a bizarre thing to be on the plane. My only brief moment with Bruce on a motorcycle is that I was walking my dog in around where I used to live. And this motorcycle comes alongside me, and it's a dirt bike. It's not a Harley. It's a dirt bike, and the person's got a full helmet. And I did no idea who it was. He pulls up right beside me, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute, what's all this? You know, I was a bit nervous about it being about somebody wanting to, you know, run off with my dog. They wouldn't want to take my wallet.
There's horrible biker people. Yeah.
Yeah. And the visor goes up, and it's Bruce. And he says, hello, Jim, nice dog.
So he was going to take your dog.
Yeah. He couldn't get out on the dog wouldn't stay on the back.
Now you need those straps, yeah.
Because maybe it was the house that you went to, was the house I sold my house to him when I was getting divorced from Linda Lewis. we had to sell the house as part of the settlement, and Bruce Springsteen bought it, and he wrote "Born in the USA" and a few other tracks there. So I don't know him terribly well, but I know him enough to say hello to, you know.
Yeah.
But he rode off with that, my wallet or my dog, so I got away light, I think.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I did meet him towards the end of the trip as well, which was nice. Stacey and I, we went out to dinner with him and his wife, and he's a really nice couple.
Yeah, he's a very, very good guy. I'm a huge Springsteen fan. I not only like his music, I like kind of what he stands for in terms of being a real artist, and really he cares about his band, and he cares about the working man. And even though he's become hugely successful and made a lot of money, he still seems to hold on to his roots, which is a really, really great quality and not that easy to do, I don't think, when you get that big.
Yeah, I read a Rolling Stone article actually when they were making "We Are the World," and the reporter said that, you know, everyone was turning up in their limousines and this, that, and the other, and, you know, and Bruce was doing something I think in Canada, somewhere like that. And basically, he bought a ticket. He got on a plane. He got off the other end. He hired himself a car, drove himself to the studio. You know,
oh, nice!
It's just I can park this man. You know that. Just a very. He's very much a common man.
Really down to earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were part of the wonderful group of people that sang "Do They Know It's Christmas?" And tell me a little bit about that.
I was asked. Not long. I think my first album had come out, and then everything was jumping across Europe, and I was doing very well for myself. And then I got a call from Bob's management or PR if he could call me. So I took the call. Now at that point, I was so busy I hadn't watched the TV for weeks. I was just constantly on the go, pressing promo, TV shows, you know, and all sorts. And I hadn't seen the thing about Ethiopia, so he told me, and I said, of course, we'll make time, and I'll come in. But at that point, really, I think I was the newest kid on the block.
Okay,
it was quite daunting to go in, and everybody was there.
Yeah,
and, they'd given me a bit in the middle, which I thought, okay, fair enough, you know, put big stars at the front, and. So I had the "Here's to you, raise a glass for everyone" bit in the middle. I'd done that bit, and then they said, "You've got to wait around, and we're all going to film the chorus at the very end." And then I got called back in, and they asked me to try out the first two lines of the song as well. It was only recently when I was touring with Midge about 18 months ago in America. I said, "Please tell me what happened," because I say, well, I think it was because David Bowie was in Japan and couldn't get there, so they gave it to me. You know, I would have had David Bowie, you know, and he said, I don't remember if that was the case, but I do know that we wanted a good opening to the song. So to be honest, we tried out a handful of people, you know, but luckily I got the biggest vote, so I got the opening line.
Oh, great!
Which was incredible. Okay. For me, because at that moment I was relatively unheard of in America. So
yeah.
But I've got a question for you, Jim. Where did we first meet?
Don't know. That's far too difficult. I remember you coming around my house to write with Robin Le Mesurier one day, but I already must have known you by then, because otherwise you'd have said, "Who are you and what do you want?" Unfortunately, we didn't find anything that day, but as is quite often the case.
I did some writing with John Bon Jovi and Richie, and people go, "What?" But they write what they write, and it's very much them, and it wasn't me. So, although I had a great time, right? And you know, it just sometimes you can come up with the goods, and sometimes I even did a bit of writing with Bobby Womack, you know, and you'd think that would work, but nothing came up the first time, and then I never got another opportunity. And sometimes you do need to have one go.
Like you, I've written with Jerry Goffin, you know, from Goffin and King, you know, wrote Under the Boardwalk and all those huge songs he wrote with Carole King that were enormous hits. But yeah, nothing came of that song either.
I can only imagine that I must have met you when you were playing with Rod.
Probably in a pub, and that's why we can't remember it.
And also, you or you Anglophiles used to do the Sunday roast thing in LA.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, that was a moving feast. When everybody was in town,
it was.
We would have it in somebody's house. There's about 5 or 6 of us, and we'd move from one house to another, and every week it would be your job to provide the same dinner. It was roast leg of lamb, roast potatoes, and all the trimmings, and that was. And if you didn't do that, I remember when I met Jane Book, and after we'd been married some time, she said, "Why don't we have a roast? We'll have some roast leg of salmon." Right, so I made salmon. The Sunday dinner party team just looked at me like I was a piece of you know what. because what are you doing? What is this fish? It's Sunday. It's not Friday. It's Sunday. Where's the lamb? And so that swiftly came to an end.
Yeah.
And I saw you play at the Palladium, I think it was, in LA. Rod and I came to see you. That might have been where I first met you, because we probably were backstage.
That was just going through my head, because I thought, okay, so that happened. And then I remember I played the Palladium. And I remember.
And you were I have to say, you were seriously good. It was a great show, a great band. You were moving really seriously well across the stage and all that stuff. It was great. You had a great persona. I was blown away. Rod and I used to go and see pretty well everybody that came through. And sometimes it would be with Kevin Savigar, or sometimes it would be with Robin Missourier. But he and I were very thick, and still are really. But we would want to see what the competition was like, and you were some stiff competition, I've got to say. Great band, great songs, great play.
I remember Steve Cropper was there as well, and he came up and thanked me for doing a song he wrote called "Iron Out the Rough Spots," you know. And for me, it was all still relatively new at that point. And I go, you can't say thanks to me, you know, because I listened to you when I was growing up. You don't say thanks to me. It's supposed to be the other way around, you know.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, good times.
That must have been early 80s, about 83, 84.
Right.
When I first met you. So that was my first ever trip to LA. And I think I've been coming and going from there. It wasn't really until 89, about 88 and 89, I started to actually go there and not stay in a hotel, but rent a little apartment and do some work out there, some demos and some songwriting and things like that. And I did really enjoy it. I mean, I love going there. It was that way of life where, especially when it was just Stacey and one child, and then you can drive to Malibu. I say not that far from the beach, but it always took longer than I thought it would. There are so many traffic lights in LA.
Yeah.
They've got to build a few flyovers, you know.
Yeah. Didn't you have something to do with Stevie Wonder at one point? Wouldn't you on a gig with him or something? Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was another great series of events that happened. This was there was a previous album called Other Voices that I did, where I recorded some in the UK, and I recorded some in America with a couple of different producers. Actually, I think I was out there and I was doing a song called "Calling You," which was from a small budget film, but it was the theme to the film. It's one of the first times I think a secretary came into my A&R guy, Muff Winwood, and said, "Have you heard this song? I bet Paul could do a good version of that." So they sent it to me, and then I was working with a guy called Peter Wolf, not the singer from Jay Gar's band, but a keyboard player that used to play with Zappa.
Okay.
And then I can't remember who thought of it, me or him, but we just thought a chromatic harmonica would be beautiful in the middle. We went, "Get in touch with Stevie." And I thought, okay, fair enough. And he did. And he said yes. And we sent off the tape. And, so
what a score.
Oh, yeah. And he's a little aside from this. He's so he did 2 or 3 takes. And we actually pieced together all our favourite bits and made it a lovely solo. And at the end of the tape, Pete said, he's left a message for you. And at the end of the tape was, him going, "Hi, Paolo, this is Steve Land," and he just left a little 2-minute message for me, which I've still got. I've managed to transfer it. So scroll forward a few months, and I'm back in England, and I'm doing my tracks. Yes, I've got it chronologically right. So I'm recording my tracks in Barnes Olympic Studio. And then I get this message from my manager. The BBC had been in touch, and they're going to be filming a Stevie Wonder concert at the BBC, and it's his birthday, and they're going to surprise him by getting a load of artists to get up and sing his song "Happy Birthday" back to him. And, would you be interested? And can you get along? And of course, I was, and I did. And it's up there on YouTube somewhere. And I'm there with Cyndi Lauper, Chaka Khan, Tears for Fears guys, Aswad, a whole bunch of people. But then I got talking to Chaka Khan, and I said, one of the songs I'm cutting at the moment is the Bobby Womack song. Now, I'm a Bobby fan, as you know, and so's Rod and what have you. And but on top of that, she cut this song called "Stop On By" on the third Rufus album.
Okay.
So it's called "You're Welcome, Stop On By," and I told her I was doing it, and she went, "Oh," she said, "I love that song. We could do that one together." So I ended up getting Chaka to come in and sing it with me as a duet. So this whole 6-month period, and this is actually what I wanted, because I started the album and I was feeling like I was down a hole. I was recording with the same people again. We weren't really agreeing on what I should be doing. And I said to my manager, I want to start working with different people. And boy, did that happen. I'm the only men producers, but then the whole thing spiraled. I've got Dave Gilmour to play solo on something, I had a great time making that album. These were people that I was listening to on my cassette player, my little Vauxhall Viva, when I was 17. And you can't imagine what it's like.
I can. I know exactly what it's like. Yeah. So when you were talking about your Vauxhall Viva, am I right in remembering that, did I get a ride with you down to a gig? Because, for the people who are watching this, that you and I played together on various occasions, and especially in the Pacaminos, which is your ex-Mex band, which is one of my favourite outfits. And you've already got one of my favourite guitar players in there alongside you. Yeah, Jamie Moses, who's a ridiculously great player, and he's played in my band when on the odd occasion as I've played in yours.
Yeah.
But did you have a Mustang, and have you still got that Mustang?
I did have a Mustang. Yeah.
Did you give me a ride to a gig in it? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went together on it when I love those. It's an older one, wasn't it?
Well, actually, it was the first. In 2005, they did a drastic reshaping, and then I saw that and I thought, now that looks like...
It looks like a Mustang should, yeah, because they went down the toilet for a while, didn't they?
They did, yeah. The 70s kind of lost it. In the 60s, it couldn't be bettered. Maybe that's part of the problem. There was only one way to go but down, because it just looked so good. But then it started to get its Jones back, and it was looking good. So I bought that first year, the 2005 one of...
Yeah. And has it gone?
It's gone, yeah. I mean, I used to have a 1954 pickup just before that as well.
Oh, okay.
Restored, because I used to see so many out in LA, and some friends of mine had got some. I got home and I just thought, I'd love to have something like that. How great would that be, rolling the streets in the UK. So I did it as kind of a hobby for a while.
Yeah.
I remember Mickey Rourke had a pickup truck, and it kind of done it up in a slight Navajo style. And so that's what I'm going to do as well. It had like an Indian pattern along the side. So I did a Mexican pattern along the side of mine.
Yeah.
Pacaminos.
Yeah, of course. Well, the Pacaminos have been going a long time now, haven't they? This was what started out as a sort of a side gig, turned into a major gigging band, didn't it?
Yeah, I gave them 3 years, and it's now something like 29 years.
Oh, it's not that many.
It's
not.
We started it in 92.
92, so blimey. Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, so 3 years, yeah.
Because I just thought I want to knock about a bit and have some fun and play a guitar again, because I'd put them down to be lead singer, you know, and mic stand around like Rod does. Of course, I nicked little moves off Rod and other people, and I got the lightweight mic stand that he's got, you know.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. But then I thought, well, I want to get back to playing a little bit of guitar and just singing harmonies. You don't get to do that if you're a lead singer. And
no, you certainly don't.
So there's so many sides to it, and writing songs in a genre. Because when I write, for me, I don't know what I actually should be, what style I should be writing in. But when I'm writing for the Pacaminos, I know what style I should be writing in. Yeah. And sometimes it's lovely to have that framework. You know?
I get it. I completely get it. I mean, when Jamie couldn't make a couple of gigs and you very kindly asked me to step in, I absolutely loved playing that music. And not only that, the band are just wonderful. Not only are they great players, but they're wonderful guys. And it reminds me a little bit of us playing a gig in the West Country where we were staying overnight.
Yeah.
And for those people that don't know, have never seen the Pacaminos, first of all, I can recommend it so highly. They're just brilliant. They're not only great songs and great music, but they're great fun. And you have this wonderful idea that I really wanted to nick, but I didn't get round to it. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But when you decide that you're going to play that song Tequila, and a member of the audience who's already been picked out comes on with a tray and a cowboy hat and a round of tequilas for everybody. And so the band all do shots in the middle of the show. And this can happen, as you explained to me. Just be prepared for this, right? Because it can happen at any moment. Somebody wants to start it. It doesn't have to be the guitar player. It can be somebody else starts it. And then this tray of tequilas come up and everybody takes a shot and the show carries on, but everybody's just that little bit more jolly than they were 2 seconds ago. And so you carry around quite a selection of tequilas in order to be sure that there's always enough for that moment. And then we're in the dressing room. I said, what's that over there? Well, that's a bottle of tequila, Jim. Oh, okay. Well, I'd rather like the one we had earlier. And so we sat down and we drank all the tequila you had while we were in the dressing room. Because I think the gig maybe even had been in a hotel or something that we might even have been staying the night. At least I don't remember getting home or going to a gig.
Stagger back to wherever it was. All you got to do.
I don't remember getting back.
The number because it's on the hotel key.
But I remember we drank, and the next day, we were heading back. Somebody said to me, "I knew you guys in the Rod Stewart group could drink, but I had no idea what you were like."
But that's what we're trying to keep up our pace up with. You've set the bar, and I remember when the Faces also used to have someone at the side of the stage, didn't they? With a bar. So, you know, it's continuing the tradition of that. I've mellowed quite considerably since even those days where I have to. I think being over thirsty is somewhat dangerous. So I'm very careful now about how often I do that. Also because I can't stand the hangover. Yeah. But yes, when we were recording the Rod Stewart records, we had a full bar set up in the studio. And one of the roadies acted as a barman. So you always had a drink going on, no matter what. It was at this boiler, as you probably well know. Yes.
So we've got a story to share about you thinking I was dead. Do you remember that story?
Oh my God.
Can you tell me a bit more about that?
I was doing an interview and they were asking some peculiar questions. One of which was, I think, when you die, what would you like to be buried or cremated? I said I'd be cremated. And they said, well, where would you like your ashes to go? And it reminded me of the story you told me, I think, about someone you knew who threw the ashes out. And I said, oh, Jim told me this story once. And I said about these ashes who got thrown, they just got caught in the wind and all came back. And somehow that got misconstrued into it was you that had died. It was your ashes.
Yeah.
See, journalists don't really listen, do they? I think they're away with the fairies.
So, Mike, I was staying at Mike Batt's house at the time because I was working on a record for Katie Melua.
Oh, of course, you joked me, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, we pranked you, yeah. Yeah. And Mike, so I saw this article in the paper about me, about you thinking I was dead, or that was as reported, but not what you really thought. But so Mike said, I think we should get Paul for this. So we got a pair of angel's wings, which were really big. They were about 3 feet, 4 feet wide, and made with real feathers and everything. It sort of clipped onto your shoulders. And I had a white suit and a white shirt and a barefoot. And Mike had persuaded you to meet him in his flat in London. Yeah. And I was hiding in the next room, and he got a reporter in there with a camera. And when you came in to this meeting that you were supposed to be having, he said, well, don't mind the reporter. He's here. He's covering me on what Mike Batt does in a day, right? So let's sit down and talk about what we're going to talk about, right? And then he puts on some ghostly music, and I walk in the door with my hands held in prayer, right, with the angel wings on. you jumped out. You said, "What the hell?" And all that, it all appeared in the paper the next day of the prank. It was a great prank. Yeah, a lot of trouble went into it, I got to say. I was going to ask you about this, and this occurred to me this morning. Listening to music, I was thinking about people who work in the film industry. When they look at a movie, can they actually enjoy the movie like I can? Because I'm not caring about any of the technical stuff. But when I listen to music, it's very easy for me to drop into the kind of songwriter, record producer, musician, and criticize things about the mix or the sound that wouldn't affect anybody else. Or maybe there's, the guitar's a bit out of tune. I go, I wish he'd tuned that guitar before he did this record. Yeah. Right? And I feel that some of the enjoyment I used to have when I was younger, some of that's been taken away by my own ability to be critical about stuff. I was wondering if that happens to you. Can you still listen to music with the same openness you did when you were a young lad?
Definitely not when I was a young lad. It's changed now. And you have more of a critical ear. I mean, there are some albums that I love, I think, God, I wish they'd just they produced themselves, and I go, I wish they hadn't,
Yeah.
Because it's the only thing that lets the album down is the sound is just a bit one-dimensional. So those sort of things. It's probably worse for you because you've done a little bit of everything. I've never produced. Right. So, I'm fairly open to that. Obviously, when it comes to songs, I'm going to sound like an old farty, but I don't really understand. I don't really get a lot of the songs that are around at the moment because they seem to have one chord progression. Well, there's one chord progression in general that everyone knows about. It's been used time and time and time again on hits for the last 10 years, But what happens is that continues all the way through the song. Nothing changes when it gets to the chorus. There's nothing to give a bit of relief in the middle of the song. They seem to find one thing, stick with it, and build a whole record around that. So what happens with me is because there's been no mood change or key change, I'm getting bored with them quite quickly. I can start off thinking, that's great. There's some songs that's got the beginning that you think, God, I wish I'd thought of that. It starts off so well, but then nothing changes.
Yeah, to us old school guys, grew up on the even especially from the Beatles, who were incredibly musical by comparison with some of the stuff that's going down. Yeah, and I find it a shame that I can't enjoy records like I used to. But the counterpart to that is that I really like making the records. I really like being the bloke who's playing that guitar or the bloke who's mixing this track. So I have that enjoyment from that end of it, but I don't have it the same way as listening to records. I don't listen to records anything like as much as I used to.
When you do find a record that you really love, you love it.
Yeah, that's
and everything's just so good. I mean, for years and years, I couldn't stop telling people about the Bop Till You Drop album that Ry Cooder did, which was one of the first ones that was ever recorded on digital tape.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers gave him the opportunity, and so not only have you got the amazing playing and the singing and stuff, and a great choice of songs, but you've got the first ever digital sound. When I bought it as a cassette, which is wasted. But then I bought it again once I'd got some money. I got myself a really nice home system, so I bought that one on CD. I suppose the next one I bought was probably Let's Dance, because I knew that was going to sound incredible, you know.
Yeah.
On a big set of speakers in a big room, you know.
Yeah.
To enjoy it all over again, actually.
Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you now, because I know you've got things to do. How kind of you to be on this show with us, and I really, really appreciate talking to you, and I miss hanging with you, and hopefully soon you'll play a Pacamino's gig near me, and I'll come and drink tequila with you, and maybe even get up and play a tune.
Jim, it's been great. Thanks so much for asking me. It's been a real pleasure. Nice to see the records up there behind you on the wall. Your lovely place.
Lovely to talk with you. God bless. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Stars, Cars, Guitars was produced by Tom Stroud.